It is that time of the week we get to go across America in search of good news. Hey everybody, my name is Chip Brewster. I'm a national digital host with Nexstar Media, and this is a weekly show where we take a look at all of the local stations across the Nexstar company, which, well, actually officially as of last night, so I'm recording this Friday, March 20th, there is now more than 200 of those stations, but I haven't gotten to look at the new ones quite yet. So a little more than 100 at this point. And we're looking for those positive local feature stories that while you would see if you lived in that market, the rest of them, you would probably never have any clue that they were ever done. And so this is such a great place that we can pull some of those together. 30 minutes of good news. Let's talk about some of the ones that we're going to be looking at today. I don't know if you heard about this one, a legitimate meteor in Ohio. We're going to take a look at what's at the end of Rainbow. Some really cool video involving drones inside. How is modern stained glass made? Another look at air taxis, because I'm obsessed. And then finally, that last one that was going by, that gentleman may not look impressive, but he is a Medal of Honor recipient, a recent one. And so we'll meet him, hear his story, and see the award presented to him, all in the next 30 minutes. Before we get to those stories, though, we are going to begin with one from our station in Providence, Rhode Island, WPRI. And this story is all about that final treatment, which deserves so much cheer and celebration and involves a very special sound.
I'm Shannon Hegy in Providence, Rhode Island. It's a time-honored tradition at the Tomorrow Fund Pediatric Cancer Clinic at Hasbro Children's Hospital. After their final treatment, each child rings a bell, a moment that brings joy and oftentimes tears to that child's family, friends, and hospital staff. And we were there as a local 11-year-old boy became the latest to do just that.
We all came together as a team, came to support him.
6 months of trips to the hospital.
Try not to be emotional.
6 months of chemotherapy.
I'm waiting to see him.
Missing out on school.
That's our boy.
Losing hair.
This is a moment.
Has all led up to this.
He's a fighter.
Jeremy, how great was it being in the limo?
It was great because I beat cancer and it's been 6 months and it's been so long.
Let me see those muscles. Yeah! With his family, friends, teachers, and first responders by his side, 11-year-old Jeremy Lopez Valera walked into Hasbro Children's Hospital on this cold March morning for his final chemo treatment for lymphoma.
I feel too happy. Thank you for Jesus Christ for everything.
But a t-shirt and a tattoo aren't the only ways they're marking this momentous day. What's it gonna be like to see him ring that bell?
I want to see that. That's why I'm here.
That's why they're all here. With the sound of that bell, initiating Jeremy into a club of cancer survivors. It's become an emotional and sacred tradition for every child's last day here at the Tomorrow Fund.
It's going to be a pretty emotional day for us.
For Liam Chapman back in December, it marked the end of a 2-year-long journey.
And it's sort of like this full circle moment where we can just really celebrate everything that you've been through and the fact that you're on the other side of it.
Christine Hill is a nurse on the Tomorrow Fund's leukemia and lymphoma team.
Does it get emotional for you? Oh, 100%. It gets very emotional. It's very personalized. We really try to make it about that child.
For this child, the smile says it all, injecting everyone around him with pure joy. That beautiful sound, music to mom's ears. Jeremy did it. And after him, the tradition will continue for countless others, proving cancer is no match for them. But they'll have to get their own bell.
This is yours.
This one belongs to Jeremy. Because he's small, but strong. Congratulations, Jeremy. In Providence, Rhode Island, I'm Shannon Hegy.
And thank you, Shannon, for bringing us that story. And yes, also congratulations to Jeremy, along with all of the other kids out there who make it to ringing that bell. What a momentous occasion to have gone through what you've gone through and be on the other side. I love those stories, right? They're so local, they're so individual, but they're so feel good. And it's nice just to know that there's someone out there doing something like that for a kid that definitely deserves it. All right. Getting a little misty over here. Let's move on to the next story. This one is coming from our station WJW in Cleveland, Ohio. So this last week, that's what I do. I said today was March 20th when I'm recording this. I look at the week before, the week leading up to this, to find these stories. And man, what a week for some specific news. This next one you might have even heard of, even though it's specific to the Cleveland area. A true meteor coming down, and then people looking for meteorites, pieces that made it to Earth. So this is all about what was caught on camera and what was felt around the area.
Did an earthquake just come through?
An earthquake?
Yes, our whole house shook.
That's a 911 call that came in Tuesday morning after a meteor that caused a loud boom shook homes across Northeast Ohio, leaving residents startled and scrambling to figure out what happened. For people like Matt McGlynn from Fairview Park, the sound was shocking.
We were walking out of the grocery store and we thought that something hit like the roof of the grocery store. It was just a really loud bang.
Others described a rumble that followed, lasting several seconds and catching people off guard.
I was just minding my own business and I just hear a giant thud, and then it persisted for like 10 seconds and I'm just sitting there like, I was like, is this the end times?
It sounded like a bowling ball dropped on the floor above me. It was pretty loud.
Bright streaks of light were captured on home and school security cameras, giving residents a glimpse of the meteor as it moved across the sky. Some people, like Tyler Zelmer, felt shaking in their homes, while others say the sound alone was enough to startle pets and friends.
My mom called me asking if I heard it. It was crazy. I think my house shook a little. And my mom, when she called me, her work was shaking, like the whole building.
NASA says the meteor weighed over 8 tons and was 50 miles over Lake Erie when the first light was detected. They tell us small fragments may have landed in parts of Medina County. People say it was amazing to see, and they're just glad no one was hurt.
I thought it was crazy because I didn't know what it was, but at least now we know it was a meteor.
That was pretty cool, yeah. I'm glad nobody got hurt, you know.
Here's the thing. I don't want to spoil this for you, but I just don't have time to share the other stories. That station, WJW, did follow-ups, and I can confirm at least one person found a meteorite, found a piece of that meteor. You want to learn more about it? Go check out their website, WJW, out there in Cleveland, Ohio. Another story for you before we hit a break. This one coming to us from our station in Las Vegas, Nevada. And the question is asked, on St. Patrick's Day, where can you find a leprechaun? The answer won't surprise you at the end of Rainbow.
Yeah, he's close. A Las Vegas leprechaun at the end of Rainbow, but our question is, who is he? And what does he want?
Happy St. Patty's!
An unbelievable sight. For a decade, this character of myth
Welcome! You found the leprechaun!
has rewarded children and adults for going all the way to the end of Rainbow Boulevard.
Well, every year is hit or miss. It depends if people saw the memo. Enchanted, magical gold.
This leprechaun appearing to inhabit the body of Dr. Jim Jobin, a Las Vegas psychotherapist who lives nearby.
After a few years, I thought, somebody needs to be doing the leprechaun bit on St. Patrick's Day.
Now this lucky creature helping others feel as special and unique.
Would you like some magic gold?
As he is.
It's a leprechaun that's magical.
Every day on this day, we just come here and see a little leprechaun that brings little kids joy.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much. Some children giving something shiny in exchange.
Coins. 1, 2, 3, 4.
In years past, one woman may be indulging a bit too much for the holiday.
Definitely thought I was real. And yeah, she was trying to get wishes granted.
You made me a letter. The tradition stretching back to 2016, a more meager setup then, but now,
come on down.
A line of cars all gathering for that shiny gold and a moment to smile.
Magic happens whenever we choose to celebrate it. That if you make that choice for your kids, if you make magic happen, it's going to be a memory. They're never going to forget it.
Our last question was, why start this tradition?
My kids were really young when I started, so I knew what it was like just being a parent in the community, wanting those little things for your kids.
As sun turned to sunset, this leprechaun left just as mysteriously as he appeared, leaving nothing but a memory and a reminder that he'll be back next year. Reporting James Schaefer, 8 News Now.
I don't know. I saw that one and I was like, that is so unique. Not just to be someone who will dress up as a leprechaun. Apologies if I'm breaking any illusions for anyone out there. But they have been doing it for 10 years. And for that to have become such a local community thing. Oh, it's St. Patrick's Day. We've got to go to the end of Rainbow Boulevard. Very cool. And hey, now you know about it. If you happen to be in Las Vegas on St. Patrick's Day, go track that leprechaun down. We've got to take a quick break, but we've got more good news stories coming up after this. We are back. I'm a little obsessed with this next story. So for those that are regular watchers, maybe you remember last week's episode from March 13th, the week of that, March 13th, 2026, where I talked about air taxis in Salt Lake City and how they're aiming to have them in full force by the Winter Olympics that are hosted there. Okay, well, apparently it's not just Salt Lake City. This next story comes from our station KXAN in Austin, Texas, and it is about the expansion of that testing.
This is going to be the next domain of transportation, the next golden age of aviation.
What we're really talking about here is a first of its kind program to bring new innovative aircraft into our national airspace in a safe manner. And the FAA selected 8 different locations spanning 26 states across the nation. A number of cities will be participating in this, specifically Houston, Dallas, Austin, San Antonio. We're talking about everything from an air taxi from one city to another to rural cargo deliveries.
I travel back and forth from Austin to Fort Worth constantly. Hi, I'm Ross Barksdale. I'm not going to be the first one to get on one of these vehicles. I'll tell you that much. But at the same time, 20 years ago, we were using VHS, and now we don't even need a DVD player. I think that they'll make improvements.
Our whole goal is to make sure that as we innovate and as we try to be a leader in this space, that we do this safely, efficiently, and that we make sure that Texans are really going to benefit from this.
We saw a huge market with cargo medical logistics opening up that rural access. With these aircraft being lower costs of operation. Hi, I'm Kristen Costello. I lead regulatory and government affairs at Beta Technologies. Beta is an electric aerospace manufacturer based in Burlington, Vermont. The short flight between the Hamptons and JFK in New York was about $7 in electricity.
What we're seeing is the potential to transform the way people and cargo move across the national airspace system.
It really becomes a game changer for some of the areas around the country.
I do think we will be seeing the aircraft themselves flying in these pilot programs here this year.
Oh man, I hope so. I just, the me part being obsessed with this, I'll tell you just a little bit more about me. Bucket list item, pilot's license. It's going to happen even if I got to wait till retirement. So just to see this kind of stuff and know I could be effectively piloting, not really, but flying even sooner. Super cool. Speaking of, I then saw this next story and talk about super cool flying. You might be familiar with drones, like super small ones. Maybe you've seen some of those really cool videos. I remember, I think it was the Dallas Stadium that it was one amazing example. So we're going to meet a couple of guys behind a company that began during the pandemic to devote themselves to that effort. And now you see how it has grown and some of the amazing footage that they can capture.
Let's try to do a shot coming down from the awning.
Time flies.
Take off in 3, 2, 1. There we go.
When you're having fun.
And then gaining altitude up to the right.
That's especially true when flying is both a joy.
That was awesome.
And a job.
With our FPV drones, it's about going where no other camera can go.
We first met John Bach.
Last time we saw you, you had a mask on.
Yeah, so we were a COVID-born company. Last time we were on WGN with you guys, and we were in masks in an apartment building.
And his indoor drone tour team.
We'll do a real slow flight so we can show off the views.
During the pandemic.
Plug in and let it rip.
In the 6 years since, as the popularity of drones has soared.
Back it up a little more before we enter.
The business has expanded.
The company has snowballed into what it is today, which is 9 employees 6 years later and nationwide coverage for commercial real estate properties and businesses, sports, and all kinds of different brands.
These first-person view, or FPV drones, give the viewer an immersive experience.
Do a duck out and spin around.
It's as if they're sitting in the cockpit,
Just watch wind.
flying a plane.
The FPV drones give a really unique perspective at a sporting event, and that's where the Chicago Blackhawks really found us.
The Chicago Blackhawks are celebrating 100 seasons this year. The team is a familiar favorite, but even the most avid fans over the last century have never seen the game day atmosphere from this perspective.
An all-star winger, the sharpshooter, number 10, Patrick Sharp.
From the red carpet to banner night to a special one-time flight. Indoor drone tours obtained permission to fly a drone over the crowd of nearly 20,000 during the national anthem at a Hawks game last December. It required NHL approval, pre-submitted flight plans, a half-dozen rehearsals, and the expertise of pilot Stratton Ford.
It's 90% preparation, 10% execution.
Ford says that execution requires expert timing.
FPV is very similar to dance. It's expression through movement.
It was part of a throwback night to the days of the old Madhouse on Madison in the Chicago Stadium. Nostalgic favorite Wayne Messmer sang the Star-Spangled Banner.
Being able to coordinate it, coming up to Wayne there in the 300 level and then dropping down over the fans and circling the benches perfectly, just having the timing was probably what made it really stand out on social and perform so well.
Stratton controlled the drone from inside the penalty box.
Afterwards, we have to get out of there very quickly before the game actually starts. So we'll be shuffling across the ice. I've got 70 pounds of gear over my back trying to make sure I don't slip. Red Wings players are slamming up against the walls. Pucks are flying everywhere. So one of the high adrenaline points is just getting out of there, as well as the actual flying itself.
It was an experience that left both the fans and the pilots flying high.
Instead of a TV broadcast camera on a tripod showing the hockey going back and forth, we can fly from the 300 level down to the ice, loop around the players during the anthem, and then shoot back over the fans to really encapsulate the environment and the energy that's going on at the United Center.
In Chicago, Mike Lowe, WGN News.
The 100th season has been super special.
Chills. And that is probably because of my obsession with flying in general, but just that video, right? Yes, I write we call it lower third, the text on the screen. Just amazing footage, flying footage that they are capturing there. We've got to take another quick break. But on the other side of this, 3 more stories for you. Oh, and by the way, if you didn't catch it, that one came from our station, WGN in Chicago. The next one after the break, though, I didn't even tease it. This is about a local grocer that is honestly making it possible for families to eat. You'll see more when we come back. Final stretch of stories for you on this week's episode of Across America Good News Edition. For this first of 3, we head to our station KTAB in Abilene, Texas, to meet a local grocer. Not normally something that you would see a story on, but in this case, well worth the exception because they, as in the community, are really doing something exceptional.
Food insecurity remains a challenge for Brownwood families, and the owner of Sliger's Market is working to change that.
There's no reason for anybody to be hungry.
Lines stretch across the parking lot of Sliger's Market, where Colin Sliger and his staff hand out free boxes of potatoes and cartons of eggs.
It's not about potatoes and eggs. It's about people.
Last Thanksgiving, Sliger began selling 50-pound boxes of potatoes for $10 and eggs for $1.50 per dozen as a solution.
So far, we've given away 20,000 pounds of potatoes and 1,000 dozen eggs.
Small businesses and other community members quickly noticed and began buying the produce in bulk and donating it to families in need.
There's a sweet lady who got a box of potatoes, and she was telling us that she got to share it with a single mother and how just grateful she was because, you know, groceries aren't cheap nowadays.
What started as a simple solution quickly turned into something bigger.
There's this movement that's becoming contagious in our community, and we just want to be a blessing. And people are like, I don't need it, but let me find somebody that does.
And the momentum doesn't stop there.
I've got several people lined up. We're going to be doing it for a while.
And for Sliger, it's about continuing his dad's legacy.
My dad always said, you'll never go hungry if you got potatoes.
Reporting in Brownwood, I'm Kira Jinkins.
Awesome. Happy to feature, again, such a highly local story here on Across America Good News Edition. Again, station doing that one, KTAB in Abilene, Texas. You can go check their website out for more information on that story and others from that station. Next story up, this one coming from our station, KTVX in Salt Lake City. And this one caught my eye because, I mean, literally, that's what this stuff is designed to do. You've seen stained glass in person, I'm sure. Have you ever seen it and how it's made? Me neither.
Holdman Studios got its start 3 decades ago in a garage of all places. Fast forward to today, and their artwork is displayed in places like government buildings, and now more than 200 LDS temples. Glass shatters.
Modern art, we don't want to be as smooth, and you can really get in the texture and the abstract within the stained glass.
And grinders buzz.
And it just looks really beautiful when it's all put together.
Inside Holdman Studios.
All art is beautiful and adds to life experience, but when you have an art form that's able to harness the light, that's able to take that and shine it straight into your soul, that's something very special.
In the case of stained glass, Gail Holdman says the artist's hands can only do so much to achieve that.
That in order to be completed, in order to be perfected, in order to fulfill the measure of its creation, it has to have light coming through it. And that ultimately is not us. We as artists don't provide that. That light is provided by God.
Sharing that light with the world started 30 years ago in this garage.
This is a effort of a kid that stutters to knock on this like stranger's door and ask them how they felt about art and how they felt about stained glass.
With effort and faith, Tom Holdman says things soon took off.
Having done so many temples, over 200, has been an incredible journey, and that's only just the beginning.
Their latest work, These Windows, welcomes visitors in the Linden Temple.
And the beauty is in the process.
That process often begins on Aaron Jorgensen's desk.
The art glass, and it really completes the room. It sets the aura for the space. It's beautiful.
And while the glass is gorgeous in the studio, all agree there is one thing needed that can only be provided from above.
Once you get the sun that's projecting those colors into the temple, that's when it's really that's when it's really a complete piece and when it comes to life.
Reporting from Lehigh, Kate Garner, ABC4 News.
And it really is, I wrote modern stained glass because it's not just glass itself of the color, right? You could see on there actual artwork being put onto the glass, that when that light shines through, it brings that really painting to life. So very cool story from our Salt Lake City station. We're going to end, though, with one that makes you, feel a little patriotic and respect towards veterans, because this gentleman in particular, who served decades ago, finally got the highest award that an active duty military member can receive. And we are going to meet him, this coming from our station, WFLA, in Tampa, Florida.
Well, I graduated from high school in 1966, and I was pretty sure that I was going to get drafted because I didn't have the money to go to college.
After basic training, infantry training, and NCO school, he shipped off for Vietnam.
I went to Vietnam. I spent 11 months and 23 days there. And then when I come home, I was discharged.
But during those 11 months, he saw intense combat, starting on his first day in the field.
I'd been in the field probably 20 minutes, and it was the largest explosion, that I'd ever heard in my lifetime then. And it actually rolled me. I mean, when I was rolling, I seen something in the air, and what it was a part of a person's body.
But it was a day in September of 1968 that stood out from the rest when his platoon was ordered to take a hill. Richardson watched as men around him were shot, including one man with intense injuries.
We lost a lot of good people. Oh, man.
But on that day in 68, Terry Richardson did what few other men would do. Under intense fire, he ran to the top of the hill, took cover behind a tree, and directed danger-close air support for more than 7 hours. Somehow, despite a severe wound from a sniper and blood coming out of his ears because of the air bombardment that he had directed, Richardson lived, only finding out recently he would receive the Medal of Honor. Richardson was presented the Medal of Honor by the president.
Altogether, his actions directly resulted in 85 lives being spared on that fateful day.
Richardson says this Medal of Honor is for everyone in his unit who fought bravely and for those who did not come home. In Lakeland, Jeff Patterson, 8 on your side.
And of course, all we can really say is thank you. Thank you for your service, not just to, I think that I saw Command Sergeant Major rank on that uniform, but CSM Richardson, as well as everyone else who has voluntarily or drafted, enlisted, or joined as an officer into the U.S. military. And that is the note, ladies and gentlemen, that we end this week's episode on. Thanks so much for continuing to join me as we look back at the week that was and the good news that maybe didn't make it to the front headline, but it still happened, and we covered it here. Until the next show, I'm Chip Brewster. Take care. I'll see you then.